Now we are going to do the practice associated with the last chapter, okay? That one that was estimated to economies of scales and imperfect competition. So here we have the first exercise. The information that we have is about the fixed cost that each company faced. It was 5 billions. Just keep in mind that billions is not the same as billones in Spanish. Billions is with 9 zeros, while in Spanish we say billones, and that is with 12 zeros, okay? So it's not the same. Here, because we are talking about dollars, it's in the American way, so it's going to be 9 zeros, okay? Also, we have that unit cost, okay? That cost that was per unit. It was like the marginal cost, C, okay? That is 17,000. Also, we have the formula for the prices. So, as I said in the theory, you don't have to memorize the formula because normally I'm going to give you that formula, okay? Also, we have the size of the market in the case of United States and the size of the market in the case of the European Union. Because we want to have everything in dollars, no something in billions while other are millions. Also, we need to transfer this every 100 million in dollars. So that is just adding 6 zeros. Okay, while here is 9, here is just adding 6 zeros. Okay, this 6 one. That is, if you have millions, now with 6 zeros more, you have dollars. Okay, the same thing for the other. So the question here, the first question is about the number of firms in each economy. So we know that we are going to get that value when we have the same average cost and the same average cost as the price. So let's develop the average cost. We know that the average cost is total cost over the quantity. So it's the fixed cost plus the variable cost over the quantity. Just keep in mind that the variable cost, it changes with the quantity. That's why here we have also the quantity, because this cost, the whole thing, is the variable cost that changes when you change your production. Well, we can see that this and this is the same value, so that's why they can be cancelled off. Okay, because here is like it is multiplying, while here is divided, so that's why you can forget about that terms. It's the same terms over behind, okay? So also keep in mind that the quantity depends on the number of firms. That's why you have to develop that, and there is going to be your unknown variable. So the quantity that each economy is going to produce, because I always make the same mistake. The number of units that is going to produce each firms is going to be the same as the other firms, okay? Because all of them are going to be equal in terms of production, technology, and also they are going to be perceived by consumer in the same way of attractiveness, okay? So all of them are going to produce the same quantity. And we know that that quantity depends on the size of the market, like number of consumers, you can say, divided by the number of firms. So as higher is this and lower is this, it's because you're going to produce more, and vice versa, okay? So that's why instead of quantity, we are going to use this always. So here we are going to put the size of the market, that also is information that we have, divided by the unknown variable that we want to find the value, okay? So this is the average cost, and now we're going to put average cost equal to the price function, which is here. Also, it's interesting that here, also because this number is like multiplying by, while the other, which is down is dividing, right? So the one that is behind the line is because it's dividing. So we can get, as in the same way that here, we can also do this, and also here I'm going to take 2 zeros, so 2 zeros from here. If you don't want to do this because you don't feel sure, you can continue with all the zeros. The result is going to be the same, okay? So here is the average cost. Now it's more simple. Here we have the 50 and the number 3 over n plus this other part of the expression. And that is equal to the price, so this is the same as this. Okay, well, next step. Also, this part, you can simplify that part. Just keep in mind that this 50 is like a number, and every number has like a 1 behind. So it's like 50 over 1 is 50. So that's why you can put this and then make the whole division of division. So the result is going to be 50 times m, so the two extreme values are multiplied and go up. So 50 times m over 1 times 3 is 3, which is equal to the other side of the expression. Sorry, because I forgot to tell this. This 17,000 is with a positive sign here, also a positive sign here. When this, for instance, this goes to the other side, goes with the negative sign. So the same value, one with the positive sign, the other with the negative, is cancelled off. That's why I missed that value, because it's not going to be anymore. So that thing that I found, I'm sorry, I forgot here 50 times m. Okay, 50 times n over 3 times 1. And that is going to be equal to the rest of the expression that is in the other side. So 150 over n. So now we're going to continue isolating the m value, because that is the question. So we were here, we need to isolate the m. Okay, that is divided, so that means goes to the other side multiplying. N, sorry, 50 times n is n squared. Okay, this 3, which is dividing, goes to the other side multiplying. Okay, so it's going to be 150 times 3. Now we want to isolate this, that's why this 50 goes to the other side. If here is multiplying, goes dividing. So n squared is equal to 150 times 3 over 50. And because here we have n squared, the way to eliminate this is just using the inverse, which is the root of this value. Okay, so we are going to have this 150 times 3 over 50, and this is going to be, it was 3. I'm sure. Yeah, I think it was 3. And for the case of the United States, this was for the United States, and to do the same, and you have to do the same thing. Instead of using this value that was here, you see, instead of using this value, you have to use this one. What is going to be the result? Because the size of the United States, of the European Union is higher than the United States, we should expect a higher number of firms. In fact, if here is 3, in the other case is 4. The next question is about the prices of equilibrium. To do this, we can choose one of the ways. We can get the average cost, because it's going to be equal to the price. So we can use that formula of the average cost and then introduce the number of firms in the equilibrium, or just the price, because here I have the price, I choose this one. So in the case of United States, it's going to be this 70,000 plus 150 over number of firms. We know that it was 3, and that is going to be the result. In the case of the European Union, it's the same formula, but here the number of firms was 40. That's why I have to put here that number. What is the result? Well, we have that in the case of the European Union, the number of firms is higher, 4 is higher than 3, and that is because the size of the market also is higher. So these people is going to enjoy for more variety than in the case of United States. What about prices? Also, we are going to see that in the case of the European Union, the price is going to be lower than in the case of United States. Now, the next question is going to be, well, what is going to be the result in the terms of number of firms and prices if these two economies start to trade? And that is the thing that we are going to do now. But as you will see, The only difference is going to be, once again, the size of the market that you introduce in the formula. Now it's not going to be just the size of United States or the size of European Union economy. It's going to be the sum of both. So you have to sum this element plus this element and use that in your formula. So, as I said, now we are going to see where is going to be the number of firms and the price of the goods when we open these two economies. So, I'm going to use the same formula. Average cost equal to price. The formula of price is the same, it's this one. Average cost, it was fixed cost over the quantity, where the quantity that you are going to produce as a firm is the size of your market over the number of firms, number of competitors. This is the difference, okay? Now instead of 300, blah blah blah, or millions, or 533, we have the sum of both elements. That's why it's 833 millions, okay? And the other is just this C element, okay? That is the C element because the quantity here is cancelled off, okay? So, as I said, I like to just keep the zeros that I don't need, and because one are over the line and the other behind, you can do it. Nevertheless, if you don't feel confident with that, use all the zeros. The result is going to be the same, okay? So here we have the average cost, here we have the price, this and this, because it's the same value with the same sign in each side of the equal, it's going to be cancelled off, okay? So after doing this, getting the value of n as we did previously is the same methodology. You're going to get that value, and in this case it's going to be 5, okay? To get the value of the price is using this expression, and instead of n put the number 5, and you're going to get the value of the price, which is going to be this value, okay? Now it's interesting comparing this result with the previous one. We can see, if you compare the price, that now the price is going to be lower, even lower than in the case of the European Union, where it was the lower prices. So that is going to be good for consumers. About the quantity or the number of varieties, it's going to be 5. Just keep in mind that in the case of the United States, the consumers there, they were just able to enjoy 3 different varieties. In the case of the European Union, 4, but now each of them are going to be able to enjoy 5 different varieties, which is better, it's better than before. Nevertheless, keep in mind that the number of firms is going to be lower, because before we had 3 firms in the case of the United States and 4 in the case of the European Union. So that was a total of 7, while now the maximum amount is just 5. So those 5 firms are going to be better off than before. They are going to be able to produce it at lower prices, a lower average cost, so lower prices. Nevertheless, the other one that has just died, they are going to be, of course, worse off. Nevertheless, we are going to say that in general or globally, these 2 economies are going to be better off. In the first exercise of multiple answers, multiple questions, we have to choose which one is the right one. The exercise says that we are in a context in which we have many firms, okay? So it's not just one. Also, we know that each firm is equal in terms of technology, and they are working in a case of economies of scale. So they have to face a fixed cost at the very beginning, which is pretty high. But the question is, okay, but what is going to be the effect of three opening agreements, okay? So now the thing that we need to answer is what is going to be the effect in terms of a number of firms and also the price of the varieties. And the question is about, at the same time, what is going to be the result graphically. So that's why I'm going to use the graphic here. So just keep in mind that here is going to be also the average cost and the price, both of them. And here is the number of firms. The price, it has a negative relation between the price that I can charge as a firm depending on the number of consumers. So as higher is the number of consumers, sorry, consumers, no, producers, higher is the competition that I face. I have to put lower prices, otherwise I'm not going to sell a goods, okay? And vice versa, if there are few number of firms, so few competitors, I'm going to be able to charge higher prices. My monopoly power is higher, okay? So that is the price, and the price depends on the number of firms, and the way of this relationship is negative. Okay, as higher is this one, so this is the zero, as higher is this one, lower is the other, the price. Okay, you can see that this is going down, right? Or vice versa, as lower is this one, the other is going to increase, that's why it goes to that direction. Okay, what about and the name of this curve is PP. What about the average cost? It's just the opposite, okay? Average cost. Average cost, normally we call this CC, okay? That is the average cost. The relationship is positive. Why is that? As higher is the number of competitors, that means I'm going to produce less, so the average cost that I'm going to face is higher. So we can say that the average cost depends on the number of firms in a positive way. As higher is the number of competitors, higher is going to be the cost that I face. But also it depends on the size of the market, okay? And this is going to be negative. Why is that? Because as higher is the size, as higher is the number of consumers or the sales of in that economy, I'm going to produce more, okay? Given a fixed number of competitors, as higher is the size of the market, I'm going to produce more. I'm going to have more consumers. Keep in mind that my production depends on the size and on the number of competitors. As higher is this one, higher is going to be the production that I can do it, okay? What is the effect then of international trade? Well, I am giving you already here the answer. So when you open, the thing that is going to change for you as economy is the size of the market. The size of the market is here? No. So that function of prices is not going to change. Nevertheless, the price is going to change because the price also depends on the average cost. But the curve is not going to move, okay? And that is important. That curve doesn't depend on the size of the market. Which then depends on the size of the market? That one here. The relationship is negative, so as higher is the size of the market, which is now the case because now it's not just my economy and my consumers, also are the consumers coming from abroad. So as higher is the size, lower is the average cost. But where is the average cost in this graph? It's here, the average cost. It's here, yes, it's here, in the vertical. So lower means that the whole curve is going down, closer to the zero. So the average cost now can be in a place like this. You see that the price, this is a new average cost, okay, curve of the CC. You see that this is going to have, of course, effects in the prices. But that curve of prices is not going to change. The thing that is going to change is the number of competitors. Now it's higher. And as higher is the number of competitors, lower is the price. So here was the initial price. This was the initial amount of firms in home. But now the price is going to decrease and the number of firms or varieties are going to increase. The right answer is D. In the case of the exercise 2, is saying something like, well, we are in a context of monopolistic competition, also these economies of cartel are economies of scale, okay? So we know that the answer I have to tell is B, okay? Producers are price setters because they are in a monopolistic competition framework. It's not perfect competition where they are price taker. So they fix the prices, but also it's true that the price that they can fix depends on the number of firms, in the way that as higher is the number of firms, lower is the price that they can charge, okay, they can put. But also we have an answer that says the answer B and C are right, and that is not true. And so that's why I want to explain why C is not true, which is a little bit confusing, okay? It can be tricky. Well, in the answer C says that producers are price setter, as here, but as lower is the size of the market, they can fix a lower price. And that is not true. It's true that the size of the market eventually is going to have an effect in the price, but it's not a direct effect that this is suggesting. We know from the previous explanation that if we have here the average cost and the price, the price curve is going to be something like this. So the price depends on the number of firms and the relationship is negative. So that means as higher is the number of competitors, lower has to be the price that I can fix, I can put. And vice versa. As smaller is the number of competitors, so it's more close to a monopolistic case, higher is the price that I can fix. But it doesn't depend on the size, okay? It doesn't depend on the size of the market. Let's see now the average cost curve, which is this. Is keep in mind, average cost is total cost, which is fixed cost plus variable cost, divided by the quantity. So quantity here is cancelled off. And also we know that the quantity depends on the size of the market and the number of competitors. Right? Because we are in a context in which all producers are equal. It's like they share the market. So we see that, well, in this case, let's say that the size of the market decreases, which is not normal. It's like the population is dying a lot because, well, any reason, I'm not going to specify a word or something like that, negative. Or also it can be the volume of sales in general decrease, but it's not because people die, it's just because people is poorer than before, okay? So, what is going to be the result of that? If this decrease, this whole thing, so if you divide something that is now smaller than before among the same number of firms, the whole thing is going to decrease, right? As lower is this, which is divided, higher is going to be the whole thing. So this part is going to increase, and this doesn't change with the size because it's just C. So, as we should expect, as lower is the size of the market, because I'm going to produce less, my average cost or unit cost is going to increase. It's going to be higher. Okay? Just keep in mind that producers are going to produce at lower cost when they produce a lot. But if the size of the market decreases, they are going to produce less because they have less demand, and then the average cost or the unit cost is going to be higher. But where is the cost? It's here. No, here is the number of firms. It's here. Yes, it's here. Here is the average cost. Now, because the size of the market is smaller, the average cost is going to be higher. So it goes in the opposite direction. So we know that the average cost depends on number of firms. Higher is the number of firms, higher is going to be the average cost. That's why it's a positive slope, but also it depends on the size. As higher is the size, lower is the average cost. So it goes in the opposite side. So as lower is the size of the market, high is going to be the average cost. So now, because the market is smaller, the average cost is going to be higher. So average cost is here, it's going to be higher. It's in the vertical, it's not here, it's here. So to be higher is more far away from the zero, it's going up, okay? Because it's here, it's in the vertical, so the whole curve is going to move up. Something like this. That is going to be the new average cost period. This was the initial point, and now it's going to be here. What is the thing that is happening? Of course, prices are going to change. But why? This was the initial number of firms. And now, because the size of the market decreased, the number of firms decreased. And is that thing the thing that is going to change the price? Okay, so is the number of firms the thing that changes the price, but it's not the size of the market. The size of the market is going to affect the average cost. The average cost joined to the price line is going to change the number of firms, but is the number of firms the thing that is going to change the price? Because now the number of firms is smaller, the price is going to be higher. Take a look. When you change the number of firms, you are moving along this curve, because the PP curve is showing all the results or the prices associated for all the possible number of firms. So if you change the number of firms, you change the price. So the result of a change, the size of the market, eventually is going to have an effect of prices. But why? Because now the average cost is different and it's going to change the number of firms. So eventually the price changes, but because the number of firms decrease. Lower number of firms is like moving along this curve, which is the one related with the prices. You see, you move to the left side and also up at the same time. So lower the quantity, higher the prices. Lower is the number of firms, the quantity of firms, higher is the price. So the price changes because of the number of firms, but not because of the size of the market. The size of the market is going to change the average cost, and that is going to change the number of firms, and that is a variable that is going to change the price. Let's take a look at here. It doesn't depend on the size of the market. I know I repeated this a lot, but it's because I think it can be a little bit confusing, and that's why I prefer to say the same thing many times in different ways. In the case of the exercise 3, the key word is here, external. Okay? Take care. This is not internal economies of scale or just economies of scale as are well known. External is talking about not the size of the firm, not the volume of production of one firm. It's about the size of the industry, okay, the agglomeration of many firms together. So that's why the answer B is going to be the right one. In the case of the A, I think it's talking about that fixed cost, the startup cost. That is for the economies of scale or internal economies of scale, as you prefer. The other are telling something about the volume of production or the size or marginal cost. No. The thing is, external economies of scale is as higher is the production, because higher is the number of firms together, lower is the average cost. That's why it's D. The question 4 is about monopolistic competition. And the definition of that is when we have a quite big number of suppliers and even higher number of demanders, so many suppliers, many demanders, and especially differentiated goods. So it's the same good, but we have different varieties of the same good, and that is the key. In exercise 5, given monopolistic competition, the kind of trade that we are going to observe is that trade that is among goods of the same industry, so they are the same good, different varieties. That's why we talk about intra-industry trade, okay? And that is going to be really useful because people is going to enjoy from different varieties of the same goods, and we are going to assume that people love a variety, okay? So that's why the right answer is going to be D. And finally, in the 6th one, is asking about which one is not right. What is not related to the result of international integration in terms of trade when you have two economies where the firms in each economy face economies of scales, so they are in a context of monopolistic competition. And the result that is not true of this integration is A. In A, it says that the number of firms is higher, and that is false. We observed in previous exercise like the total number of firms is lower than before. That doesn't mean that the number of variety that each consumer is going to find in the market is higher than before, it's higher than in a closed context. It's going to be higher, yes, but the number of firms total now is going to decrease. The other statements are true.